Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 47 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil Callin. Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome along and thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we like to try and keep you up to date with what's going on in theatre on the Isle of Man, chatting to the cast and creatives of upcoming shows to find out a little bit more about the shows and the people behind them, and also what our Manx-born and bred performers are doing further afield.
Coming up on this week's podcast.
I'm joined by two of the cast members from Two Feathers' upcoming production of The Full Monty. You can still listen to all of our previous episodes through all the usual podcast outlets and at manxradio.com/podcasts. Whilst you're there, make sure to give us a like and click subscribe or follow or whatever it is you need to do to make sure you never miss an episode. Right, well, since the last episode, I've been busy with all the performances of One Man, Two Governors, which I'm happy to say went really well. I've just about recovered and the bruises have almost gone. Sadly, the houses weren't as good as a musical would have been for the same amount of performances, but that's a conversation for another podcast. Still, One Man, Two Governors managed to elbow its way into the Service Players' top 15 productions, so that's not too shabby. Last week, after holding their auditions, the DCU released the cast for their February 2024 production of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Evita. There will be 10 performances, I'm told, and the roles of Ava Perron and the Mistress will both be split equally between two actors. Sharing the lead role of Ava Perron are Lauren Molyneux and Leah Carter. Matt Creer, last seen on the Gaiety stage as Jesus in the DCU's 2016 production of Jesus Christ Superstar, will be taking on the role of Che Guevara. Alex Toohey will be portraying Ava's husband, Juan Perron. Thomas Ian Dixon will be playing Agustin Magaldi, and Evie Skillicorn and Jade Ward will be sharing the role of the Mistress. The ensemble is filled out with a lot of experienced performers and some of the best young talent coming up through the ranks. This is going to be a production to really look forward to. The Manx Operatic Society are currently advertising the various roles up for grabs in the auditions for their March 2024 production of Lionel Bart's Oliver. Auditions for Fagin and Nancy will be held on Sunday the 23rd of July at their rehearsal halls below the South Douglas Old Friends Association on Finch Road in Douglas. The auditions for the remaining roles will be held over the weekend of the 1st to the 3rd of September. Check out their Facebook page for details of how to register and get your hands on the audition pieces. I've been quite fortunate in recent weeks to bump into a few people who regularly listen to the podcast. First of all, shout out to Mandy Griffin, superfan. And it's nice to know I'm not just sat here talking to myself. I've also been contacted by Skip Corris, who listens to the podcast on his daily walks all the way across the pond in South Carolina. Wow. With the surname of Corris, Skip clearly has some Manx links and is coming over for a short visit for a few days at the start of September and would love to see some Manx theatre productions whilst he's here. So, if you're doing anything over those few days at the start of September, please let me know so I can talk about it on the podcast and also pass the details on to Skip. Thanks for listening, Skip, and I hope you enjoy your trip here later in the year. I almost forgot to say that the recording of Heathers, featuring the island's very own Ben Karen, is now available to rent and buy on Prime Video. I watched the other night, and I must say it's a fantastic production. Make sure you keep up to date with what's going on between episodes by following Manx Theatre Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram and at Manx Theatre Pod on Twitter. We might even sign up for Threads. Right, down to business. I'm joined in the studio today for the first time by Ben Heath and for the second time this year by Sue Tummon from the upcoming Two Feathers production of The Full Monty, which threatens to be this year's most revealing musical. So Sue, welcome back. And Ben, welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Thank you very much.
Gosh, that was hard work already, wasn't it? That's only the intro. Guys, welcome along to the Manx Theatre Podcast. And we're here today to talk about The Full Monty.
Yes, we are. 10 days to go.
10 days to go. Exciting stuff.
Absolutely.
So, how are rehearsals going then? 10 days out?
They're going well. I mean, I feel like everybody says that, right? I mean, does anybody ever come up and go, it's a complete
it's awful. It's a complete train wreck, yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. It's going well. It's at the stage where it's ready for an audience, I think.
Yeah. We had a pre dress rehearsal.
Or undress rehearsal.
Last weekend, yeah, or the undress rehearsal as it is for the Monty 6. And actually that went surprisingly smoothly. Obviously, there's still a few tweaks and refinements here and there, but
and then once you get into the theatre, it ups the level as well.
It's ready
doesn't
for
it?
an
And then-
audience, put
Brilliant.
it that way.
Great, okay,
Yeah.
that's good, yeah. So it's running from the 15th to the 22nd of July.
It is.
And you've got two sort of matinee performances, or it's a slightly different than the standard 2:30 afternoon, because it's not really an afternoon show, is it?
No, I mean, we've got on both of the Saturdays, we've got two shows, and there's an early show, which I think is at
5
o'clock.
5
yeah.
o'clock. And then there's a later show, which is at 9 o'clock, I
Yeah.
believe. So, yeah, it's ideal, actually, because you can either go to the theatre and then go out later on
Yeah.
and carry on your night, or you can start your night and have a few drinks and some dinner and then go to the theatre after that. So it's really quite special and quite unique to have those two shows on the Saturday.
Those evening performances, then, the later performance, then, once there's been a few drinks on board before the audience come in, is going to make for an interesting evening.
Yeah, we did one of those last time, and it
Yeah.
was a unique theatrical experience. I would
Yeah.
say. It's definitely up there with one of the most memorable performances I've done. We were absolutely terrified because it definitely had a stepped up a vibe, shall we say.
Yeah. So you were part of the cast then back in, 2014 when it was last done?
Yeah, 40, 50 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
It feels like it, yeah.
Feels like it, yeah.
I would say, how does it feel to be doing it again now that you're a bit older, a bit stiffer, but maybe that's not the best choice of words.
No. I mean, what doesn't get easier 10 years later? No, I mean, it's good. It's reassuringly the same. We've got some of the same cast, but also some
The main
people.
six are pretty much the same, aren't they? Except there's two guys that are...
Two changes, yeah.
Yes. So John Craig has gone, and we've got Nige Thies in place,
Yeah.
and Liam Bean, who we know has moved to Manchester, and he's been replaced by the wonderful Alex Maxwell.
Yeah, and it's great because I said it's kind of comfortable in the sense that a lot of the guys have been there before, but there's some new energies. And I was thinking about it in the car driving in. Actually, it does feel like a new show.
Yeah.
So I think that's always one of the things. Well, I've seen it, I've been there, and I've done it before. But actually, even being in the cast, it feels like a different show, different performances.
Bit of a different dynamic to it.
Yeah, people bring different things to the roles.
And of course, you've all grown and changed as actors in the last 9-10 years as well. So you've all sort of grown and improved, and you'll probably approach it from a slightly different angle as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a classic, obviously, coming from the movie, it's such a classic that people understand. I think you have to be kind of respectful of it and not mess with it too much, but it's nice as an ensemble piece of theatre to kind of bring something together, everybody works on.
So it's an American musical, but it's based on the original film. So there are some slight changes. Some of the names are slightly different, but for most part, it's all pretty much the same, isn't it? It follows the same story as the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of the big hitting moments are there, so everything that everybody would expect to see, including the end, is there.
Yeah, and you do the full Monty, huh?
Apparently so.
They do. We've not seen it yet. We've not been subjected to that in rehearsals because obviously it's very carefully and precisely staged with some LX cues
Yes.
by the wonderful Sarah Holland, who's calling the show. So everyone's staying firm friends with Sarah to make sure they don't upset her. Because
Safe hand Sarah in the corner.
Yeah, one slight pause on that lighting cue, and it could it could prolong the agony for the boys on the stage.
Just a fraction of a second too quick or too slow, and
Yeah.
Putting some bribes together just to seal the deal,
Yeah,
just to make sure that
absolutely.
she's
Yeah, but yes, they very much do the full Monty. I've
Yeah.
had so many people say to me, do they actually get all their kit off? And I say, yes, they absolutely do. And I think it's incredibly brave and, really quite remarkable that the guys do this, because they will be playing to very full houses. The audiences will be, they'll be full of energy and full of life, and the guys are going to take their kit off in its entirety. And I think it's a marvel, to be honest.
So you're both playing Dave and Georgie, who were played by Mark Addy and Leslie Sharp in the film. Two fantastic actors, are wonderful parts as well. So Dave is Jerry, or Gary in the film, his best mate, the
downtrodden.
Yeah, good word.
Yeah, downtrodden, yeah. And he's a bit sort of self-conscious as well, because he's a...
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he does. He has body image issues.
Yeah.
There's lots of issues that do come through in the show. Whether that is around, sort of self-esteem, financial difficulties, social status, gender roles,
Yeah.
gender stereotypes. There's lots of those things, but the character Dave that Ben plays, he has quite a strong wife, which is my character Georgie, and she's the one that's currently going out to work and earning the dough, and that sort of impacts, I think, on Dave's character and how he feels about everything in his life.
Yeah,
because he's not the breadwinner, and he feels he should be, and so he sort of starts to look at himself in every light, and starts to become more conscious of how he sees himself in the mirror, and the role that he plays in his marriage to his wife as well. So there's lots of quite powerful stories that kind of run through, and threads that run through the show.
Brilliant. So let's have a look at the cast then. We've got Alex Toohey then is playing the lead role of Jerry. Ben, you're playing Dave, his best mate. Then David Cowley is back as Ethan, who is the role that was played by Hugo Spear. He's the one that attempts to do the running up the wall backflip.
Yeah, that's right.
Has he actually been able to do it? I mean, I know it happens.
No, he just crashes into the wall.
He just crashes mostly into the wall. The last time I saw it was however many years ago. That was the last time. So.
Yeah.
But he tells me I think he's going to do a bit on it this week, so I'm sure it'll be fine.
He'll sort it out this week.
I mean, you know what he's like.
It'll be right when I get in the theatre.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can worry about these things too much. I think.
So Malcolm or Lomper is now being played by Alex Maxwell.
Yep.
Horse is David Castro, back again. Nige Thies is taking over the role of Harold, who was the foreman, isn't he? He was the foreman from the factory.
That's correct, yeah.
And Sue, you are playing Georgie, who was Dave's wife.
Yeah.
Joe Dickinson is Vicky.
That's right. Vicky is Harold's wife.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Sonia is Jeanette.
That's
Sonia
right.
Callin, is Jeanette. And Jeanette is... What's Jeanette's character?
She's a sort of a new role that comes into it. So she's the sort of the piano player, but she's really the one that kind of drives the guys all the way through the rehearsal process and has all of these incredible long-winded stories about all of the fantastic things that she's done.
She's kind of like their choreographer, musical director.
Yeah. A combination of that and their manager and a little bit of an arm around their shoulders. She's kind of their motivator, and she sits through all the auditions and has a comment on all of them as well. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a really quite funny role, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. She's great.
And then we've got Rachel Braidwood as Pam, who is Gary's wife, or Jerry's wife.
That's right.
And then we've got a number of others. We've got Jill Buchanan, Lisa Dancox, David Artist making a little guest appearance, Thomas McAleer, Nick Kane, Ben Gale, Beth Thomas, Johnny Fabrizio. Is he the actual stripper? He's one of the Chippendales.
You're careful with your use of the word actual stripper. I mean,
How dare you?
How dare you?
Yeah, he doesn't go the full Monty.
No, exactly.
What I mean is the professional stripper that the boys
that's
discover.
correct.
I was going to say come across, but then again, that's just really not.
Yeah, no, he is. And what's brilliant as well is actually it's quite a big role.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of dialogue. He's had to learn a lot of lines for this. So whilst Gianni's very easy on the eye and his physique is absolutely incredible. That's what he does for a living.
Yeah.
It's for him, it's not just a question of coming on the stage and taking his clothes off. He's got a lot of dialogue and he's doing the acting and, he's really thrown himself into it.
And that's not something that's sort of natural to him either, I suppose.
No, not at all.
There's some really nice sort of ensemble pieces in there as well, aren't there? Just little characters that kind of drop in, and so everybody gets a moment. Some absolute stealers in those.
I'd imagine during the sort of the audition scenes, then clearly there's some nice little cameos for some of the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nick Kane's playing the role of Reg, and he has a very awkward stripping moment.
Is that the one that's just like really slowly just unbuttoning his shirt?
Absolutely.
Absolute gold.
The shoes and the socks.
It's a real show stealer. And also Lisa Dancox plays the role of Malcolm's mother, aging mother. And she just has us all in stitches every time. There's a very brief scene that she has an interaction with Alex's character Malcolm, and it's just hilarious.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. So there's lots of really good moments.
She's a comedy powerhouse, Lisa.
Oh, she is.
I can imagine that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And then other sort of people there on the list, and we've just mentioned Gianni Fabrizio. We've got Stuart McLean, Daniela Clark, Andrew Dayton, Kelly Firth, Bob Harrison, Olivia Helmer, and Jordan McCormick. Yep,
absolutely. And the girls, sort of Jordan and Olivia and Danielle and Kelly, they're sort of doing lots of the sort of dance routines that are in the show, because there are quite a number of routines, and they've been, a real injection of
legitimate dancing talent,
legitimate
as opposed to
dancing and youth
happens.
and beauty and all of those wonderful things. So they're fabulous. They're all really great.
Brilliant. So this show then is being directed by David Artis.
It is.
And I think did he direct this last time?
Yeah, he did.
He did, yeah. So he's got a couple of musicals under his belt now. He's got quite a few pantos with Dreamstar under his belt. So it's a slightly different route again, back in for a full-blown musical for him.
It's great working with him because I think he approaches it very much from an actor's perspective.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. I know sometimes when you work with directors, and because there's a lot going on, there's a whole production to pull together quite quickly. That kind of the performance and the acting approach tends to drop away because it becomes a logistical operation. But David's right there up until the end with us, making sure that the performances are stay true all the way. So it's been really good.
Yeah. He's a very generous actor as well, isn't he? He gives a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Along with missing pages of dialogue and just making it look like it's your fault.
It's a skill. It's a talent. Use what you got.
Yeah, and the man gets away with it so often. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Alex Toohey has a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely. Yeah, he does this look. And he goes, "Yeah, it's you. It is you. Come on, it's you." And then, that's it. So.
Yeah, a few of my friends, we refer to it as pulling an artist.
Yeah.
It's when you go so spectacularly wrong, but then look at someone else. And then the whole audience looks at them and they go, "Ooh, have they gone wrong?"
Oh, wow.
Because there's no response. Yeah.
There we go.
He did it to me in a panto, and I'm like, I don't even have lines in this scene.
You're not even in this scene. It just calls you on.
Yeah, I just walked on by accident. Yeah. So going back to the story then. So it is the group of guys being made redundant from a steel mill.
Yep.
That's still much the same.
Yep.
And then they meet. Well, I suppose most of them have come from the same factory, haven't they? So they already know each other, but they sort of meeting up together in the dole queue and the job club, trying to find themselves a job, and that's how it all starts. And then Jerry and Dave stumble across the Chippendales down the local working men's club, and Jerry has this wonderful idea of, "Hey up, lads."
Yep, absolutely. And Dave needs some convincing. He's not altogether sold on the idea.
No.
But yeah, slowly but surely they recruit what are now affectionately known as the Monty Six into their little gang. And the story is very, very in line with what you see in the movie, and all of those kind of nuances and tales unfold as we go through it. So, but it's also supported by some fantastic songs. There's some really lovely pieces that may not be familiar to people, but there's some really nice music in the show.
Stuff to be humming as you leave the theatre.
Yeah, some proper earworms.
Yeah.
And also some quite moving numbers as well.
Yeah, there are. There's a couple of surprises in there, actually, that you wouldn't expect.
I mean, that's it with the film, though, as well. The film is the same. It's not an out-and-out comedy. There are some really touching and some sad moments in there as well, obviously, with the trouble with his ex-wife and his son, but then also the death of Lumpa's mum and all those kind of things as well. So
it's quite, it's a comedy at heart, but it's gritty.
Yes.
There are some real sort of challenging issues that all of the characters in this musical face, and I think it's pulled together quite sort of sympathetically and is very relatable to people, whether you're male or female. You can certainly relate to the characters and the different things that are going on in their lives throughout this musical.
And I suppose one of the big things is that a lot of people out there will think, "Oh, it's a show about strippers." So, as a man, going, "Oh, I wouldn't bother going to that." But I guess it's not. It's a family. It's a show, not a family show. It's
really not a family show.
Far from a family show. But as far from a family show as you can probably get, to be honest. But But it's a show for everyone, really. Yeah.
It is a show for everyone, and we really would love to dispel that myth that it is just for women.
Yeah.
Now there will be a dominance of women in the audience. There's no doubt about that. But we wouldn't want the chaps to be put off coming to see the show because of the fact that not only is there some great acting and some great character roles in there, it is funny, but there are some, plenty, like I say, plenty of stories that everyone can relate to. And it's gritty, and there's something for everyone in there.
I thought for a brief second there were going to be plenty of young ladies.
Well.
Ben's not going to say no.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre podcast with Neil Callin.
Ben, this being as your first time
Yes.
on the show, let's find out a little bit more about yourself. How did you first get started into theatre? What was it that first got you going?
I first started at school, like a lot of people, back when I lived in the UK. I was lucky. We had I went through a couple of schools, and they all had really strong, good drama programs, and they were all led by actually really great head teachers that had sort of a passion. Because honestly, there wasn't much of a curriculum within drama at that stage. It was really, what the head teacher would put together. So right from when I was in infant school and reception, they would put on quite big scale productions, and I kind of got the bug from that, I suppose. And then moved over here when I was year 9, about 14 or 15, and then kind of came into this really developed culture of theatre at that time, and started in Peel at Centenary Centre, and then
Peel Pantaloons.
Exactly, Peel Pantaloons representing.
Oh yes.
And then left
where I
for
started.
Yeah, all the greats.
All the greats,
started Peel, and then and did some productions over here, and then I left for a while and kind of, I guess, put it on the shelf for a bit, and then it was lovely to kind of come back to it later on, return and get some opportunities, later on down the road.
To get your kit off.
To get my kid off twice. Yeah, exactly. It's mainly the nudity.
So what would you say was your first sort of main role that you got?
I can't remember the name of the character, but it was from the Snowman. I was the boy in the Snowman. The one that runs around in...
I think he's just referred to as the boy.
The boy,
isn't he?
so it was the boy.
Yeah.
I wore a dressing gown and ran around the school hall, and that's really all I can remember. But I guess that was the first proper part.
What about as an adult then?
First one as an adult. Do you know, when I came back, the first big show that I did was Monty. So I came back from London, and that was the first sort of show that I came in and auditioned for. And I just came into sort of a general audition, not coming in to do Dave. And they obviously took one look and thought, he'll be all right. That'll work. So,
I'd come for horse.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the first sort of, I guess,
When was Scrooge then? Not Scrooge. Oliver. When you played Fagin.
Don't test me on dates because I'm absolutely useless at it. It was a few years ago, pre-COVID. I don't know.
The youngest Fagin in town.
The youngest Fagin in town. Yeah. I mean, that's probably my favourite role. I absolutely adore playing that part. And it was great production, and a really sort of dark version of it, which was great, because it's sort of the darkest telling of the story that I've seen. Because Oliver can be so many different things. It can be super light and fluffy and all running around with handkerchiefs, or it can be like this version of it, and we were all in really dark, deep Victorian.
John Cumberledge,
exactly.
He does a good, dark, gritty story, regardless of what it is. He can always find the darkness and the grittiness in there.
Yeah.
And there's like so many different ways to play the character as well. So to get a chance to play with it and to work with John was it was great. It was a really good experience.
And it's scary to find that the majority of those kids are now in their mid-20s.
Exactly. You walk past and go, okay.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here's a newer one that we've had, and this one can be for you as well, Sue.
Okay.
What is the strangest or funniest thing to go wrong on stage that you've hopefully managed to keep from the audience? Although sometimes it may not necessarily be that easy if it's gone that wrong.
Well, mine was actually earlier this year in Young Frankenstein. It certainly wasn't particularly strange, and it certainly wasn't particularly funny. But I was doing a scene. I came off the stage, and I was then having to get onto the shoulder of Jeff Pugh, who played the monster.
Pugh Hefner.
So Pugh Hefner. Jumped up on the chair, and as I went to launch myself over his shoulder, the back of my dress zip just went and became completely undone. So I jumped off the chair, and the wonderful Jude Fullerton was there at the ready, trying to sort of get it all back together. And we just didn't have enough time because it was super quick. Yeah. So I went on the stage with a gaping hole in the back of my dress.
Fantastic. And
my enormous show knickers
lovely
sort of showing at the back of this dress, and Jeff had to sort of lay me down on this sort of bench on the stage, and I just thought, this dress is going to come off any second. That was
not choreographed to do that way.
Yeah, that was quite a moment, but apparently nobody noticed.
Wow.
So it was just just the billowing breeze at the back of my dress that was noticed by me.
So was
and probably Jeff, to be fair.
Had the zip broken, or did it just come open?
It had broken, and it had to all sort of get sorted out, and they had to, the wardrobe team were amazing and fixed it all latterly. But yeah, it was quite the moment.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
Ben?
Probably in 42nd Street last year, my brain decided to randomly sing the word porridge.
I remember this.
And frankly, it terrifies me to this day because I have absolutely no idea what's happened.
It was in Shuffle After Buffalo, wasn't it?
It was in Shuffle After Buffalo, which was really the only thing I did in the show. I mean, it was like 2.5 hours of prep to go on, to come up the trap and sing this song.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to sing Now That We've Had the Rice and Flowers. And my brain decided to sing Now That We've Had the Rice and Porridge. And nobody was more surprised than me. I sort of looked out to the audience and kind of went, I don't really know what's happened there. And we got through the rest of the number, but I would not like to say that I don't think the audience noticed, because I think everybody in the room went,
What?
Did he just say porridge?
I remember Emma telling me about it. She was like, how on earth is he going to get himself out of this?
Yeah. And the musical director, Elvin, came and said, what happened? I went, I do not know. I cannot tell you. But I was in absolute fear for the rest of the run, because it happens once. You're going to go, well, what's your brain going to do to you next?
Coming up the track saying, don't say porridge, don't say porridge,
don't say porridge. Don't joke. That's exactly what we did. Don't say porridge, don't say porridge, don't say porridge.
But then you're more likely to say porridge than forgetting, don't say porridge, don't say porridge. Porridge, go!
It was like, what will he sing tonight? Who knows? Yeah, but I don't think I convinced anybody. Everybody went kind of, porridge. So let's see what he'll say in this show.
Yeah.
What better reason to buy a ticket is there than that?
Absolutely.
We had a bit like that back in 2004 with Grease. And I had a line that was about wanting to split a cheeseburger, and we just changed it every night with every show. Got told off for what I was saying wasn't appropriate, and then had to think of something different the next night that was almost a little bit too far.
Brilliant.
Okay. What is the best or worst costume that you've worn?
Oh, easy. Toy Maker. Dreadful costume in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah.
I remember, when you first do a dress rehearsal and everybody comes out and they see everybody in their costume the first time, and everyone goes, oh my God, you look amazing. Oh, it's going to be great. I came out in my Toy Maker's costume and everyone went, oh, that's a shame. That's a real shame.
Never mind, then.
It was lilac lederhosen.
Lovely.
Oh.
I was just awful. It was just awful. I begged for it to be changed, and it wasn't changed. Please put me in anything else, or give me an apron or something like that. But no, that was it.
I think I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's etched into the the mind. It was really, really awful.
How about the best costume you've worn?
Fagin, easily.
Yeah.
It was Rowan Atkinson's costume.
Oh wow!
So it was the one that he'd used, and it had his name stitched in it. So yeah, it was an incredible.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was an absolutely incredible piece of costume. It has like 5 or 6 layers to it, and it was all sort of built up with a big hunch, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing.
I wore a shirt in Sunset Boulevard, which had been worn by one of the Clarks in the producers. I'm like, this is the closest I'm going to get to being in the producers.
Brilliant.
Sue, what about you? Got any costume?
I think that I mentioned it last time. The curtain outfit in The Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
Yeah, it was undesirable, I have to say. Not my favourite.
Not your favourite.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one then. So, what is there a new show or a show that's new to you that has a part that you'd love to play but you now can't because we are the wrong side of 40?
Can I say I'd like to play Matilda?
Yeah. Yes.
You'd be great, Matilda. Yep.
If you could do a grown-up version. They always do junior versions of productions.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to do a senior
I think you're onto
version?
something there.
Matilda Senior.
Oh, yeah.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, would the adult roles then be played by like senior citizens, or would you have like the adult roles played by children?
I don't know. I think
a
we need to
bizarre-
brainstorm
I was
this.
saying it needs to be thought out.
Let's get a whiteboard and some chunky pens.
A 3-foot Trunchbull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I said before, I'm ready to play any role now. I'll go on. I don't care. Just send me on. I'm ready. I'll play Matilda.
Now that I can see.
Yeah.
Okay, here's an interesting one for you then, Ben. And this is one probably coming at you straight off the cuff though. But it's a gender swap question.
Yeah.
Which role would you play of the opposite sex if you could?
Well, I don't know if it counts. I've always wanted to play Trunchbull, so I mean I know that's technically played by a man, so I don't know if it really counts. But
because it'd be the same thing would apply then to Tracy's mum in Hairspray.
Yeah.
It's a female role, but always played by a man in drag.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Lovett would be fun.
Yeah.
See, that was my choice.
Yeah.
See, Mrs. Lovett, it's such a great, meaty character. It's
Yeah.
so much to that part. It's brilliant.
I mean, yeah, I think it's better than Sweeney. I think it's the better part than Sweeney.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, Mrs. Lovett. I'll go with that one.
I'm not a big fan of Annie. I've never really been a fan of Annie. I don't know what it is about it, but it just makes my skin crawl. But
You could play it.
I was thinking of Miss Hannigan.
Yes.
Nice.
Because I've seen there are some pre-productions recently where like Craig Revel Hallwood and a few other
Yes,
people
absolutely.
have played Miss Hannigan in drag. Oh, well, Paul O'Grady did it as well, didn't he? So, but yeah, that'd be an interesting. Role.
Yeah.
That would make it bearable, I think. Because Miss Hannigan is brilliant, isn't she? Okay, so I think, guys, we are almost there because, more importantly, you guys need to get to rehearsals.
It's that time.
Yes, we
It
do.
is.
Yeah.
It is that time of night, and you've only got 10 of them left to go before you open. So, but before we go, our Spotify playlist. I said Spotify then, didn't
Spotify.
I? Our Spotify playlist.
Porridge.
Porridge. There we go. Yeah. I'm going to struggle now.
Let's
now
not turn that into a thing, please. I beg you.
Our Spotify porridge. So we came up with this back in 2020 after the first big lockdown, and we decided to come up with a playlist that was kind of like the ultimate musical theatre playlist.
Yep.
Right now we are rocking on to 78 tracks on this playlist. It's about 5 3/4 hours worth of music, and it's quite varied. It's quite eclectic, the mix. Now, Neil King and I, when we first set it up, we put 10 songs in each because no one wants to listen to a playlist with 2 songs in it because that's short and boring. And then every person that's come on the podcast since then has added a song in of their own. We have had a couple of people now that have managed to get a second choice on there, but some of the options that we've had, Emma Callin, my good wife, she chose the overture from West Side Story.
Yeah.
She wanted something from West Side Story, but couldn't settle on any particular song, and West Side Story, the overture, is a proper old school
45
overture,
minutes long.
45 minutes long, and has every song from the show in it. So
It's a good call, yeah.
Yeah.
it had them all, so she went for that. Let's have a look who we got. So Tony Eccles chose When I Grew Up from Matilda. There we go.
Yeah.
Jeff Pugh Hefner, he chose You'll Be Back from Hamilton. Alex Toohey chose He's My Boy from Everybody's Talking About Jamie.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, what a song.
That would have been my
Yeah.
choice.
David Artist chose The American Dream from Miss Saigon. Having played the engineer, that's not a surprise. And Jordan McCormick chose Wouldn't It Be Lovely from My Fair Lady.
Yeah. Classic.
So, Ben, what song would you like to add, and is there any particular reason why?
Well, only because I would really like to do it. I'm going to go Smell of Rebellion from Matilda, for sure.
Ooh, lovely.
Because I think it just goes so many crazy places in one song. It's got such a variety to it.
Great choice.
That, yeah. And I think it's good to have a lighter one on the list as well.
Yeah,
Give us a bit of variety.
brilliant. Okay, right, so the full Monty then is at the Gaiety Theatre from the 15th to the 22nd of July, and on the first and last night there are 2 shows with an early evening matinee at 5 p.m. and the main show at 9 p.m. If you've not done so already, make sure you get your tickets from villagaiety.com or by calling 600 555. Ben and Sue, thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Wish you and all the cast of Full Monty all the very, very best for the show. And Sue, no doubt I'll speak to you again in a couple of months for the next episode.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Ben. Thanks now.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
I'll Listen, the charity that supports young people's mental health, are staging a concert called Young Stars of Man at the Gaiety Theatre on the 27th of July. The concert will feature some of the best up-and-coming youth talent on the island, including the current Young Actor of Man, Young Singer of Man, the Junior Young Singer of Man, Young Magician of Man, the Youth Bard Hadassah Smith, Guild winners, the Manx Youth Orchestra, and many, many others. The show will be compared by Jack Divers, who will no doubt be singing a few songs along the way too. And this proves to be a great evening's entertainment, and it's supporting a very worthy charity too. The DCU Choir, which formed after last year's production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, will be performing 2 summer concerts on Saturday 15th of July at 7:30 p.m. at St Peter's Church in Onken, and on Sunday the 16th of July at 2:30 p.m. at the Aeronaut Centre. Details on how to get tickets are available on their Facebook page. Then, in just a few weeks' time, Taylorian Productions are back with a staging of Kinky Boots the Musical. Once again, on the middle Sunday of their 2-week run, Taylorian are presenting Sunday Night at the Gaiety, which will be a variety show involving performances of songs from some of your favourite musicals, performed by some of the island's best performers, and me. We will be catching up with a few members of the cast of Kinky Boots in the next episode. Well, with that, we bring episode 47 to a close. Thanks once again to Ben and Sue for joining me today on the podcast. We wish them and everyone involved with Two Feathers' debut production of The Full Monty all the very best. Remember to go and book your tickets by visiting the Villa Gaiety box office, the Welcome Centre, villagaiety.com, or by calling 600 555. Remember to like and follow our social media pages to get notifications of upcoming episodes and events. Don't forget to check out our Spotify playlist by searching for Manx Theatre Podcast, and that's all one word. There's almost 80 tracks and over 5.5 hours of show tunes there to satisfy your musical needs. If you have any events that you'd like us to talk about or promote on a future episode, you can contact me through our social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com. All that remains is to say thanks for listening, and I hope you join me again next time. I've been Neil Callin, and you've been listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast. Goodbye.
The Manx Theatre Podcast, taking a look behind the scenes of Manx Theatre.
And actors alive for me.